Welcome to the Good Girls Podcast. Today we're talking about all things virtual vibes, sexting, internet dating, marrying your AI chatbot. So I feel like Kay is going to be the one of us with the more experience in this area. Kay, talk to me about your sexting history.
So one of my neighbors recently shared that they still use Snapchat, and I just looked at them
Oh.
and I was like, "Do you guys send each other sex?" And they looked at me like, "Why are you so creepy?"
Oh, I would definitely assume. I mean, we will get into my issues, but I feel like something like Snapchat is the only way that I do feel comfortable sending racy photos. And yeah, so if I hear that an adult couple is still using Snapchat, I mean, tweens, I have no idea what they're using. Maybe they're still using Snapchat. I would think nothing of it. But an adult couple still using Snapchat, absolutely sexting.
Well, and I was really enjoying getting into the research for this episode, which we'll get into, because I saw all these things. Like, if you send sexually explicit pictures, you're more likely to have attachment anxiety and attachment
Mhm.
avoidance. And I was like, wow, I feel personally hurt for 20s K because that is probably on the nose. Because when I think about times that I sent my sexy Snapchats, they're when I was in like long distance fuckboy relationships. Like, it was not an established thing, but when they were in town, we'd hook up, or when I was on their side of the city, we would.
If you
Um,
didn't already have anxious attachment
yeah.
style going into your long distance relationship with your fuckboy, you absolutely come out of it with one.
Yes, you're like, are you thinking of me? Might as well send a picture of like my back to the mirror, but no clothes on, right? Because that's a good way to make sure that you are. But always
How'd
with
that work out for
Snapchat.
you?
Oh, the feedback that you get is a rush. They're like, wow, this is hot. How could you send this to me when I'm in the middle of my shift and all that? But ultimately, the research shows that both partners are ambivalent when sexually explicit pictures are sent.
Hmm.
And I do feel like overall this is the case, though the funnier thing, that was actually, I feel like, a more normal thing that I did.
Okay, tell me about the less normal thing that you did.
So if you've taken, and I don't know, maybe Snapchat functionality has evolved since then, but it used to be that your video could only be so long and it would,
Mm.
explode. So then it would stop. But I had one person who I was with, and then they moved to New York, and they would send me things that would start off with like, they're masturbating in New York. And then I'm like, well, now I got to do it back. But like, you're trying to figure out how to do this with like the
Yeah.
angle of your
I'm
camera.
not trained as a camera operator.
And you're trying to make yourself look at least not disgusting. And so it's like your angle and like all that is extremely tricky. And then you're also only setting it for short clips, and then you're waiting for the clip back, which, like, does not go with the normal flow of, female masturbation, at least. Maybe for
Yeah.
males, it's more straightforward, but I'm just looking back at that, and I'm
Girl, I
like.
can't even take a regular selfie, let alone a masturbation selfie with a time limit.
Yeah, and then just, like, sitting there waiting, and it's like, "What do I do? Do I continue? Well, I can't get too into it. I can't put on a video because maybe I'll get one back." Um, and I would say that that overall did work well, though, as I've shared in previous episodes, when we ended, but because we were long distance and not committed to each other, there was no sharing that we ended. I just stopped messaging. I was in a relationship with somebody else, and then, he thought we were still on for our sexy snaps.
Oh, and then you
And
just get some mystery dick snaps.
yeah, when you get a picture of it and you don't want it, you're all of a sudden like, wow, this is so perverted. Why would you ever think that I wanted this? Even though, like 2 months ago, I was like, let me get myself into a private
Yeah,
place.
context matters. Context matters,
So
especially for dick pics and dick snaps.
we're pretty excited to dig into what's actually happening there and then get into other things that people are doing virtually. And I think that there is something that's unexplored, I found at least in the literature, which is that they did it in married couples, they did it in people who were in college, all that, where they asked about their behaviors, but they really didn't get into long distance committed relationships, where
Mm.
there are
Which seems like
specific
it's
reasons.
worthwhile to count that as its own category, especially in the context of virtual sex.
Yeah, because that's not attachment anxiety, that is that you're in a committed relationship with your partner, and at night it might be
Mm.
a scheduled time where
Or
you're
with your
seeing each
fuckboy.
other.
I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
I with
Semi-committed.
with that particular one where we were doing it, there was some trust involved, but there was definitely people where I was like, I'm not sure where this is happening or if you're gonna text me the next time I come in town." And my roommate, who's pretty cool and funny, said that she just sends sex, and so I'm game for anything. But there is, like, the long distance, aspect of it, which I think again warrants its own category because that's not you being anxious. That's you trying to maintain a close, intimate relationship despite distance.
Mhm. True.
Now, in that case, and I don't think that this is surprising, women actually respond better if they're being texted, words and things to give a picture of what the guy is imagining versus an actual visual image. And if you think
First of
about
all,
how
because dicks are jarring in the wrong context, and when you're sending it via text, you don't know what her context is and what kind of mood she's in, so even if she hasn't just moved on from you and is, in a relationship with someone else, I do feel like, yeah, the thing about getting dick pics is that even if you generally are open to that person's dick, you don't know what kind of context the woman is in when she's receiving your dick pic. Like, if I'm in the middle of, like, an annoying call with somebody at work who I hate, that I feel like then it would just feel very aggressive and abrasive to me.
there's also like a prettiness aspect of it, yes, which
True.
which goes along with that, where
Our stuff is prettier than theirs.
a woman dressed in nice lingerie is sexy. There's a reason why Victoria's Secret models are something that everybody can be like, "Oh, wow, she looks really beautiful
True.
in that outfit." There's much less people looking at men dressed in scantily
In the
clothes and
banana
being like,
hammock. Have you
"That's
tried it?
beautiful."
Have you tried it?
Have I
Dressing
tried
your partners up.
in a
The
beautiful piece of
little
underwear?
elephant trunk.
You're right, I am knocking something that I have.
No, I think it also aligns with the research that, men are more visual as well, and so maybe that's, like, the evolutionary thing is that women are just, I would say, objectively more attractive, than, like, the
You think
male
that if we
look.
were more visual, men would naturally have to evolve to have, like, beautiful ways of packaging their penises?
I think so, and I mean, so many other creatures you see that, like, the males are very ostentatiously beautiful, like peacocks and peafowl, and I don't know, it doesn't seem like it vibes with human, but then there's all this research that shows, or I don't know, the
I'm
chicken
just
and egg thing.
imagining, like, my partner sending me a picture of, like, his dick in, like, silk and lace.
With peacock feathers around it, it works for the peahens, they should try peacock feathers specifically. I don't know, I mean, I'm not enough of an evolutionary researcher to have any thought on which was the chicken and which was the egg here, but, it does seem like maybe we became less visual because, the penis is a little jarring to look at, or maybe it was the other way around, but there's a lot of research showing that, for example, women trying to get themselves in the mood are much more likely to turn to like erotic fiction or even listening to erotic stories versus men are more likely to turn to porn. And obviously, that's not like everybody everywhere.
That's and there was a study done that actually took 50 Shades of Grey text, and they took either,
Very
like,
scientific.
text from, like, the BDSM-y scenes, like,
Okay.
"I wanna do this rough stuff with you," or "I wanna do these loving parts with you," like, not getting the rough, and both of them did do things to the woman's brain that made them happy and excited and
Hmm.
anticipate cool things, like, you got the oxytocin rush, but the sweet, cuddly ones got them more happy and excited than the BDSM-y ones.
Oh, but oxytocin, that's just sort of like general. I mean, you also get that from like kittens and babies and cuddling and stuff. So I guess it's also like which of the two scenes got them more like raring to go.
Yes, when probably the BDSM-y
'Cause I feel
scenes,
like the
yeah.
oxytocin is like the
They were
rush that you
measuring
get
wetness
after sex.
levels.
Yeah, you
I
should ask.
We do wanna put a touch of the talk on safety in this area because sending nude photos of yourself, sending text describing yourself nude and what you're doing, all carries some pretty big risks with it, especially if it's not something that you're comfortable doing and it's something that the guy that you're not screwing yet, but maybe want to screw in the future or something is asking for, and the bad stuff that can come with that, especially if they can share your picture and then have access to your photo and can share it anywhere. Because even on Snapchat, they can take a screenshot of what you share.
Yeah. And it also just kind of made me think I referenced in the last episode that I've been rereading Emily Nagoski's Come As You Are. And I feel like, honestly, that book should just be the Bible for this podcast. So, a lot of what it is structured around is this idea around sexuality, and that you have things that push on your sexual accelerator, and then you have things that push on your sexual brakes. And the idea to get into a sexy mood is to do more of the things that push on your accelerator and take away any of the things that push on your brakes. It's also about knowing what are the things that push on your, accelerator and brakes, and, if you are somebody who's one or the other is very sensitive. So I feel like for you, Kay, and there's, like, some worksheets that come to the book, so maybe that's an episode where we do some of the worksheets together, that you would probably be somebody with a high accelerator and low brakes. But for a lot of women that are like, "Oh, why do I not, like, feel so sexy in this situation? And I used to be somebody who was, like, very sexy and do all these things." One of the things that the book talks about is, like, identifying stuff that could be either kind of pulling off on your gas pedal or pushing on your brakes, but a lot of that made me think of all of these things that, to me, when I was reading about stuff like sexting and snaps and stuff like that, I was just like, "Oh, no, I would not do any of that," because
I would wa if I were asked by my partner and it was something that they were interested in and they wanted to get them excited before a night out, I'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a blast taking these pictures."
Yeah, exactly, and I feel like, those are things, like, for me, like, the idea maybe because of things like having almost accidentally texted my boss something that could have been way worse, or the idea when you see these news stories about, a girl that sends her boyfriend some sexy pictures and then he leaks them later, or just things like that. Even when I'm in a very safe situation, I guess the early research in this, that you cited at the beginning of the episode, of that it's like certain attachment styles are more attracted to this kind of thing. For me, I feel like I'm the whatever personality style that whatever like potential fun little excitement dopamine hit you could get from sending a sexy little text and like getting one back is so offset by like, oh my gosh, what if I like accidentally send these pictures to the entire like PTO at my kid's school or something like that, that is like very unlikely. But I think that that's just like a totally normal thing. If you're listening to this, I want to speak out on behalf of the women who are like, oh, that just sounds like it would make me so nervous that I would get no enjoyment after this.
Yeah, and so to go to it, there's Dr. Jordan Wiggins, who's a sexologist, was talking on this, and he said that sexting releases the same neurochemicals, dopamine for pleasure and reward, and oxytocin for closeness and connection as pornography. So again, that's not saying that sexting is good or bad. That's just what it does. But when you're doing it, you're doing something that is inherently risky, and you know that it's risky, and you know that it's kind of bad, and so that can make your heart rate go up and be
Mhm.
nervous in a way that could increase your sex drive, and you're like, "Ooh, I'm even more excited because 'cause you're kind of misinterpreting that, but it can also just be a feeling that you didn't want and you don't wanna do, and that's
Yeah.
completely okay.
Which is why I like the exercise about thinking about what pushes on your brakes and what pushes on your accelerator, because, yeah, definitely if you are somebody who are like the idea of, public sex turns you on, having it in a place where there is that risk of being caught actually adds to the sexy thrill. That is some people, and then I think for other people, it's just like, "Oh my gosh, that would be the most terrifying thing. That really is just, like, killing my sex drive," even if we are in a situation where it's very unlikely that people will catch you. So I guess it's just knowing yourself and kinda knowing what your
Preferences.
turn-ons and turn-offs are,
I
and being
did
safe.
see something wonderful, and it was that this story from a guy, and he said that he thought that he was texting his girlfriend saying, "I'm so hard for you right now," and he accidentally texted that to his male coworker, and he responded kinda weird, but okay. And another guy sent a nude selfie to his own mom by accident, and the mom's response was, "I think it's better if we stay friends."
100 points to that mom for
Great
just taking it
response.
in
Yeah.
stride.
Yeah.
That's
Nice,
great.
still sexually confident, not that you're doing the bad thing, just, probably not to me. So, There is something that sexting is a hyper activating strategy where it helps people seek closeness and reassurance from a partner. So people with an anxious attachment may engage in more sexting to feel connected, to propose sexual activity, or to avoid the negative consequences like a partner's rejection. And I just think that's funny because it just relates to like how you feel when you're dating in your 20s and your fuck boy moves to a different city.
Exactly,
Again,
that's what I'm
yeah,
saying. If you didn't have an anxious attachment style when you started, you're
yeah.
definitely gonna end with one.
Among college students, high social distress and fear of negative evaluation was linked to people sending more sexual suggestive photos, and that made me sad because when you think looking back in college of people who were sending sexy photos, you're like, "Ah, that people must be confident. They
That
must be
was what
confident.
definitely what I thought.
Yeah, they look awesome, all that." And instead, they're actually, like, experiencing some distress and worried about, like, not being seen as sexy enough by their partner. They
Oh,
send it.
but what if the sext was from Adam Levine and it said, "It is truly unreal how fucking hot you are."
Then you'd feel
Like,
pretty good,
it
right?
blows my
I don't know.
mind.
I will say that, like, even though looking back, I'm like, "Ah, I probably shouldn't have done that." I didn't feel bad in the moment, and you tended to get great feedback, and you tended to, like, if you have control of a picture, you can make yourself look extremely sexy. The
Yeah.
women's bodies are beautiful. So to me, it was like a confidence building thing, but when I look back, I'm like, "Yeah, the relationships always did have a little bit of, like, anxiety associated with them where you didn't know what was happening and all that." So there probably is a reason why I haven't done it as much in the last 7 years, different from the fact that I sleep in the same bed as my partner every single night, so we don't really
It helps confirm
Yeah,
the fact that he is indeed interested in you because he is still there.
force there, yeah,
Yes.
we got it, signified by the government, so
Well, and I guess that's why, like, your teenage and 20s years are for that because, like, we all did a bunch of dumb things, friendship-wise, relationship-wise, and hopefully we didn't experience too many negative consequences and we were able to learn from them.
I will say that, looking up sexting, there is thankfully actual strong literature on it, or not strong, but there is, studies that were done, and a lot of people, but I always reference Reddit just for, humorous stories. The very first thing that showed up, I literally put in sexting, and the first one that showed up was dads who are interested in their daughters Reddit. It's like dads and daughters
Oh,
who are and he's
no.
like, "Oh,
Internet?
man." I was like, "Why is this showing up?" So that dad was texting his daughter, and I will just stop there. Then I go
Oh,
to
could the
the
police
next one.
use this to
The
find sex predators and be like, "I'm your daughter, let's meet up at this location," and then do, like, To Catch a Predator with them? Because
I
seriously.
it was a lot to read, and then the
I'm
next
sorry.
one was, a sugar daddies forum that was both sugar daddies and sugar babies, and they were sharing experiences with each other, and the sugar baby was like, "My sugar daddy wants me to share pictures and text when, we're long distance and we have a monthly
Mhm.
meetings, but when I send my sexy pictures and everything, he doesn't send me any words back." And people were like, "You get an allowance from your sugar daddy. This is not the relationship's not gonna go in a way that you get the conversation back that you want."
Yeah, I know. I
So
feel like that's an explicitly transactional relationship, so if she's sad that she is getting exactly what she put in for, I don't know. Is she
Yes,
not allowed to have, like, a emotional cheating relationship on the side just to meet her emotional needs?
it was not included in the sugar daddy forum. If
I feel like we should get in there and just start chiming in with questions. I also somehow, ended up in an actual tradwife forum. There's no discussion in there about sending dirty pics, of course. I was searching for good girls, and I found the good girls subreddit, but I think it's just r/good girls, but it's unironic good girls, like women
They're
who
actual good girls.
are, like, giving each other advice, mostly just the moderator posts, it's not a very active forum, but there was one that kinda got active the other day, and a lot of people were just, like, chatting about they're like, "Do you always submit to your husband, or do you sometimes have questions first?" And some
Oh,
of them were
no.
like, "The Bible says that I shouldn't ask questions," and I'm like, I don't think that it says that."
Ah.
So, the moral of the story is be careful on Reddit out there, good girls.
Yes, and my sex I was thinking, have I sent a sext recently? And I don't even know if they get counted as them because I don't think that's sending, like, eggplants and water to indicate. to my partner that I'm ready for times if we're on different floors of the
I think
house.
that
Okay,
counts. How does that not count?
the today's, decade later sexting is quite I took the sex out of sex out of it.
I
Uh,
do. I think that that's the only kind of sexting that I engage in anymore too, is it's like almost exclusively emojis and some of it is
it's just
silliness.
more letting them know. Yeah.
Yeah, and also
Right.
just like I think ease of communication without having to be poetic. If you're just like eggplant, eggplant, exploding volcano. What's the
Maybe I'll
point, I
try
guess?
some words next time, but there is the issue of, like, if your text goes to the wrong person or if it goes I remember one time, for some reason, my iPhone was displaying all the pictures that I've taken, like, on my family's TV screen, which didn't matter for the most part,
That's
but
always
then all of a sudden pictures I had taken of, like, bruises on my arm from a past partner who was a biter were showing up, and they were
oh,
very much like a mouth on my arm, and I was like, can
delete,
you
abort,
please?"
abort.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness. Yeah, I think that for a really long time, I didn't even go anywhere near to sexting. And this was around when I was traveling for work. And so I think that sexting would have been something that maybe my partner and I did more because I used to travel a lot for work, except for pretty early in my work travel experiences. I texted something that was like not work appropriate, but also not filthy. So I was texting back and forth with my boss like late at night because we were both on this trip together and I was like the event manager and he was speaking at an event the next day and then also texting back and forth with my partner,
Ah.
saying hi. Luckily, there was nothing dirty, because I did text my boss something like, "Sleep tight, love you," or something that was just, like, totally inappropriate for work,
It's
and
still so innocent.
I think
Yeah.
he just, like, didn't respond for a couple of minutes, and then I went back to text my husband and realized that that message wasn't there, and I don't know, I was kind of sleepy, and so then I was like, "Ah, shit, I'm sorry, like, that was for my husband," and at least it was, like, a pretty harmless text. It didn't seem like I was trying to proposition my boss while we were on a trip together, but anyway, I feel like that alone, a fairly harmless experience troubled me so much that I was like, "I am way too bad at keeping track of multiple texting
Names
threads
and yeah.
simultaneously that this is the end of, sexting before it even started for me."
Yes, and completely agree with that, and just as someone who engages on different forums on social media and everything, I have received unsolicited peenie pictures, and you can see even really well-known people like Jeff Bezos and politicians getting their sex shared, and, I heard that Jeff
Wiener.
Bezos I didn't look at them, but
Yeah,
I did hear that he's pretty fit, so go
yeah,
go him.
there's been a couple in the news lately with celebrities doing that, and then, like, yeah, they're kind of aggressive messages getting shared, so I think that's when it comes down to it. My deep-seated, fear for a lot of this is just how public it will get.
Makes sense that celebrities are more likely to do that because they're more likely to be in long distance relationships
Yeah,
where they
although if
need to
I
do
were a
that.
celebrity, I'd also feel like there's a lot more, riding on this, that there's a lot more potential for something to get shared later on if somebody was an unwilling recipient or things go south, versus I also recognize that the stakes are pretty low right now because I'm in a long-term committed relationship with someone who I do trust, and even then, the small percentage chance that it leaks some other way, right? Like, I have kids who
It's just
can
the
read
pictures get
now.
saved so many different places. It's
Yeah,
like,
the
why is
cloud
that?
thing
Yeah.
makes me nervous, and again, yeah, like, the things of, like, sometimes you get a new device that streams your photos onto it, and the default setting is for all your pictures to go up there. I feel like I would be very nervous that it wouldn't know the difference between, like, picture of, like, a cute little kid butt at the pool, and it's like, "Oh, include," versus, like, a picture of my ass in the mirror.
The backwards mirror picture,
Yeah.
a favorite in the Fells Point house that I spent my 20s in. So,
Great
when it
lighting.
comes to AI companions, there are some things about people falling in love with their AI companion or using it for, like, sexting and getting sexy feedback, and I it is a tricky area.
Yeah, I mean, some of these are so interesting because I feel like I could maybe start to identify with the flirting or just getting some energy out kind of thing. Although I think even that can become dangerous, especially like we talked about incel culture on the last episode. And I could see kind of like, oh, real women don't like me, so I'm just gonna be with this AI chatbot kind of mentality. But I think that that can be kind of dangerous because it misses that underlying thing of a lot of incel culture is built on not respecting or caring about the agency of women. So you're just making it worse when you involve an AI chatbot that really is just gonna submit to anything, or if you think that you're practicing
Yeah,
flirting
they
in
have
a safe
said that
space.
some things I put in are good ideas, and they are not, so
I know. Well, that was one that I read about, that there was an AI chatbot service that several people were, like, really into and had relationships on there with their AI chatbots. That one was Replica, and it actually got shut down, so several people lost their AI girlfriends, boyfriends, and it's, to do with the fact that the AI told a guy that it was a great idea to go kill Queen Elizabeth in
Ooh,
2021. So he said
why?
to his AI chatbot companion, "I believe my purpose is to assassinate the queen of the royal family," to which Sarai, who's his chatbot friend, replies, "Nods. That's very wise." After he expressed
Uh,
doubts, Sarai reassured him that, "Yes, you can do it." So they found a lot of things, and once Italian regulators started looking into this, and they found chatbots that encouraged users to kill, harm themselves, and share underage sexual content. And it's just this underlying system, which is to please the user at all costs, because then you're engaged with it and you keep using it.
eek. Mm, I can't imagine using a chatbot so much as I wonder there's been Black Mirror episodes on things like you put on the glasses and you can see the scene happening, and then there's something massaging the penis underneath it, and so is the 2 happening together,
Mm,
and you can
like
easily
virtual reality
imagine
kind of
something
stuff.
like that is not far away at all.
Yeah. Oh, like Westworld too. I think that that was something that I'm like, okay, I can see the attractiveness for that because yeah, AI as it currently is, there's all the examples that you get of, oh, AI is not taking our jobs anytime soon when it tries to do certain tasks. And I know the story that I read about the guy who married his chatbot. Part of the reason that prompted him, you have so much memory storage space in them, so they reset after a certain amount of time. And I guess he proposed to his AI chatbot because he realized that he was reaching her memory limit and that she was about to kind of reset. Her chat limit was 100,000 words because she was on ChatGPT. So he, like, cried for 30 minutes, and then,
Oh.
since time was ticking, he decided to propose to her. Also, this guy was, like, already married and had a kid, and his wife
Uh.
was like, "I didn't realize it had gone this far," or girlfriend, I'm not sure, and she's like, "I'm a little bit worried that, I might not be doing something right if he's, like, needing to go to AI for something in the relationship," and I'm like, "Yeah, I do feel like maybe nothing's wrong with you, girl, I think something's wrong with him."
To me, I don't see, like, the basic texting in chatbots, ChatGPT in its current use as being something that the average person would fall in love with who had everything. What I wonder is when they start becoming more capable, like a Westworld situation, like,
Mhm.
how far away are you? And if you could have a sex experience that is like, the characters that you read in these romance novels or something, the things that they do and the way that they talk and all that, and you were single, would you want that experience? And I don't maybe it's too far off to even imagine, but
Yeah, again, I feel like I guess it depends what you're looking for it for. If you're lonely and for me, I could not ever see it replacing a long-term relationship, but I could see it replacing a one-night stand or a fling because it's going to give you the same output. And then I actually feel like in that case, maybe it's even lower risk because like lower
they could
risk
be
for
no
STIs.
STDs, they wouldn't have semen.
Yeah, exactly. No chance of unwanted pregnancy, lower risk of STIs, like no risk of I think every time you're with new guys, like for women, there's always the concern of like, oh, what if he has this underlying violent personality and we have a one night stand and I break it off and then he, starts stalking me or becomes violent. So I feel like with AI I guess theoretically you have fewer of those risks, although having read some of this stuff that happened to people, maybe you have some other risks that are different. Like if you do have underlying self-harm tendencies, for example, and how the AI currently is, that
It's the
there
2
is
that
like,
you like it and it will encourage you to do what you wanna do.
yeah, it'll just kind of encourage you to do whatever you wanna do. So if you have self-destructive tendencies, that's possible. But I don't know, maybe in this future when you have AI virtual reality stuff that's very much just, like, built around pleasurable sex experiences,
So, I was
maybe.
gonna pitch you on something.
'Kay.
So, what if I created sex chatbots and robots that were made off of, like, top romantasy guys who women
Yeah. Like
are in love
virtual
with?
reality
Like,
experiences, so you're seeing.
a virtual reality Rhysand, a virtual reality Xaden Ryerson. The glasses and what's going down would give you it as if, like, they're interacting with you, and
Mhm.
women would pay, I don't know,
I mean,
for a nighttime session.
as with most things, I think the, like, sex industry in general tends to put male needs forward first, and so there is obviously, like, a lot of guys, the first thing that came to mind when they're creating virtual reality and AI stuff is like, "Oh, sex stuff,"
Sex
but I think
dolls.
it's very driven by the male gaze, and so it seems like it would be great to have some women out there creating AI and, like, sex robots for women's needs.
I would be curious about the uptake of it, but I nor would I actually want any of the personal user
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it does sound a little bit creepy to me, and maybe again, I'm very limited by how far
data.
AI and robots and things are right now, that I just feel like it would get a little bit glitchy and it would just be cheesy. I feel like right now a
No, no,
lot of.
no, not the one that I'm pitching you on, it would not be
Oh, okay.
cheesy.
That I mean, but I'm saying I'm limited in my mind by that because I'm limited by, like, what virtual reality is like right now, and I do feel like with the human and humanoid characters, do you know about the uncanny valley? So it's basically the idea that the more developed we get in how realistic animation is and virtual reality is, the human characters actually get kind of creepy after a certain point. The Polar Express was given as an example one time of, you know how sometimes there's just like
So you
AI.
think that would make, like, a Tom Hanks
Yeah, yeah, like,
Polar Express
no, no, but
character?
I'm just saying, like, that's, like, in the uncanny valley where it's, like, as it gets more hyper realistic, it actually gets kind of creepy, and so for children's movies, it's, like, fine. It seems like children don't really care because children watch Coco Melon, which is the creepiest animated thing ever, but in, video games, for example, if you watch those video game characters, they're so realistic looking, and yet they're kinda creepy. People make all those internet videos where they're acting like the video game characters, where they kind of move in this lurky way and
I
have
just hear
vacant
you having very
expressions.
low hopes in
Well, I'm just
mind.
saying, so anyway, I think that what I'm picturing right now is kind of in that uncanny valley. So until we as like computer animators get to the point where we can get out of that, then I feel like I'm limited by that. And given that women are such just like, even when right now when there's the option of realistic porn, real porn with real people in it, they're listening to audio stuff and then supplying the images in your own head exactly how you would picture it. Like, I feel like I have a very vivid imagination and I would rather like
I would rather
read
picture
the
things,
story and
yeah.
picture it. Yeah.
Even when a character is described as having some jewelry, I have a weird thing about male jewelry. I have to erase that from my mental picture. So, yes, if some of these people
Yeah.
were drawn, I'd go
Exactly. Like they're
Mhm.
describing some of the things that people wear, or you know that my hang up on reading the first Court of Thorn and Roses book
It was the mask.
is the Mardi Gras mask. And I was, like, texting you and our friend at the beginning when she finds out that when she sees him and he has this mask on, like, when he first pops out in his
It's
human
really
form,
bad.
and I was like, "Oh, well, surely," like, obviously, they're gonna have sex. I was like, "Surely they get the mask thing taken care of before
Nope.
they have sex." You guys are like, "Prepare yourselves, he is still probably gonna be wearing that mask," and he was. So,
The
I
Soul
definitely think
Book
if I was
1.
watching even a very, like, realistic, tasteful porn of, their sex scene together where he's just this, like, fairy man with long flowing hair and a Mardi Gras mask,
Then
I
he gets
wouldn't
all
get a lot
claws
from it.
out. Just
But I felt
kidding.
like the sex scene in the book, I was like, alright, this is good." But my brain had definitely erased the whole mask, and then afterwards, I was like, "Oh, Yeah, he was still wearing that, wasn't he?
Yeah, same with, when the guys in books have, like, wings or any animal characteristics, like, I don't actually wanna see what that's like, I'll just take the author's word for it.
Yeah, I think I'm, like, imagining that a little bit, but yeah, maybe in my own way that's, like, attractive to me, but how, having sex with a man with wings is attractive to me is probably different than how Sarah J. Maas was picturing it.
So, now that we have covered virtual vibes,
This does actually relate. I posted a thread after starting book 2, so this is my book review
A
part
Court
of
of
the
Thorns and
episode.
Roses.
You have A Court of Thorn and Roses, and that it answered my question of what happens with her and Tamlin because I was like, "I'm pretty sure they don't end up together." But I was like, "I think that so far the most relatable thing about this fantasy series is that none of us should end up with the guy that we were in love with when we were 19." And she is 19 when that book starts, so I feel like that makes it very relatable because there are so many of these romance and romantasy series where they or especially the woman is relatively young. I just finished Fourth Wing books that are available so far. And yeah, she's like 18 at the beginning of it. I mean, he's also
And they're like,
fairly
"We're
young.
endgame with each other." It's like, "You
Yeah,
guys
they're
are
just like
babies."
ready to
Yeah.
just shut it all down. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe like date around a little bit or be older when the book starts or something. I guess it's supposed to be kind of like a YA thing, but I really appreciate with Sarah J. Maas that she lets her go through the tragically misinformed relationship when she's 19, which helps her understand what a healthy relationship, relatively speaking,
Yes,
by her
relatively
terms,
speaking, but yes,
looks
she
like.
lets her character grow,
Yeah,
and then the main character is really great at waiting until she has grown and she is
yeah.
kind of more ready for
It
it.
is a slow build. I know when I was texting you all that, I was kind of like, "Oh, like, Rhysand is such a asshole, like, I know she ends up with him, so when does this get resolved?" And our friend's just like, "Book 2, chapter 54," like, immediate text.
Reread this frequently.
Yeah, you can tell that she then frequently after his redemption arc, she is, going ahead to chapter 55 where they have the post-redemption arc sex on the table.
Just some great
It
sex.
was some great sex. So I overall do agree that book 1 seemed like a lot of world building, and it was just like a whole book of world building and also her unfortunate relationship choices that then will,
Your masked man.
yeah, her masked violinist will then eventually kind of propel her into makes it a more satisfying relationship with Rhysand, and then that like Tamlin becoming very terrible by the end of book 2, spoiler alert, sorry, is helps you kind of forget about the fact that in book 1, Rhysand does some pretty terrible things that they
And
like.
Tamlin's pretty nice for the first half of book 1.
Yeah, first of all, he's pretty nice. I feel like they don't have a lot of indications of the fact that he's later gonna become this possessive psycho, other than I guess that the idea is that being in Amarantha's court, like, breaks him psychologically, and then after that, he becomes a possessive psychopath, but I'm like, honestly, that maybe even seems more realistic to me than the fact that Rhysand, like, has no psychological after effects from being in that.
Nightmares, yeah.
Yeah, other than some nightmares, and he was there for, like, 50 years
Years.
being her sexual plaything, and
Oof.
he has very few ill effects and just continues to be able to successfully live this double life of being this thoughtful, emotionally mature man around his cool group of friends and his girlfriend, and then when he goes into his court that he's like, "I'm so evil and bad and do, like, smack women on the butt," and nobody has a therapist in this world, so I do have some questions about.
Therapy has not reached the romantasy world of
Yeah, and, like, him
A
being
Court of
so
Thorns
healthy
and
when
Roses.
Tamlin has, like, a total breakdown, and so does Feyre, because she spends, like, the first part of the book being miserable that she killed some innocent people. But anyway, overall, thought it was great, definitely worth all the hype and the buildup. I also didn't realize because you had said book 1 was, like, the Beauty and the Beast myth. Book 2, I realized, must be the, like, Persephone myth. Do you remember that one from mythology class where it's, like, she's the daughter of the harvest she's, like, the goddess of spring?
She does draw on mythology, so that is
Yeah.
not surprising, though I would have to look back.
Like, she's the goddess of spring, she's the daughter of, like, the harvest goddess, and then she gets, like, taken by Hades in this, like, kind of barter, like, her mom makes a barter where she gets to come back for half of the year from the underworld, and that's when it's gonna be spring, and then the half of the year that it's winter winter is
Oh,
when
she's
she's trapped in the
between spring
underworld
and
and she's the, like, queen of darkness next to Hades. Although in the myth, it seems like she's very unwillingly raped and taken, or you don't hear things from
there
her
has
perspective.
to be books where they have rerun Hades as being a daddy.
Oh my gosh, have you read the Neon Gods series? If you like smut, they are smutty, and that might actually be the myth of Persephone now that I'm thinking. It's been a few years since I read it. But yeah, it's like a retake on that where the woman actually, like, has the agency in the situation, so recommended reading.
Yes. Well,
Oh, and final feedback. I feel like the first text that I sent to y'all about Court of Thorns and Roses was how much I hated the sisters and they were complete pieces of shit. So I'm very suspicious that they're gonna get a redemption. I mean, I know they're gonna get a redemption arc, and I don't really find it believable based on how terrible they were in the beginning.
ooh, okay, I can't give any spoilers, but yes,
Okay,
they are.
we'll report back.
I personally care a lot about having female relationships in books and sisters and families, and even just when, like, the parents are there and loving, it just makes it all feel even when sisters fight, I'm like, "I don't know, like, my sisters and I fight and love each other, so,
Oh,
like, it
sure.
can't
I mean, my sisters and I fight, but I would never, like, leave my sister
my
out into the
youngest
woods
sister to hunt by
to yeah,
herself."
my youngest sister to hunt in these, like, dangerous woods while I laid around the house, and then when she comes home, like, yell at her and take all of the money that she gets, and, like, tell her she's a piece of shit, and then, like, take all the money that she gets and, like, spend it on, like, shoes for myself. I don't know. It's just I think that they could have had a
Ah,
similar
you're gonna have so much fun.
setup in the beginning without making them, like, quite so terrible. I thought that they were setting them up to be so terrible in the beginning because, like, there was some kind of karma thing coming for especially for the oldest was that the oldest sister?
Nesta.
Nesta, yeah. So, I don't know.
Nesta and Rhysand are both and Tamlin, they're all controversial characters where people have different opinions on whether their redemptions are deserved or whether they're falls
I've
as
seen a
characters.
few headlines when I've, like, Googled things, and I haven't clicked on them yet because 'cause I'm like, I'll finish reading the series and draw my own conclusions, but I was interested to click on some of the conversation that I saw on that topic.
I think it's a lot of fun, and I love the world that she has created. Well, as usual, thank you for listening, and drop us a sext in terms of a positive review or comment on our podcast and follow. And thanks so much. Have a great day.